guys, welcome to the Gibbons Talks Boxing YouTube channel. I haven't put out much content lately, but hoping to be back with more content over the next few weeks. And first up, I thought I'd have a word with my mate James "Lights Out Lilley. James, you're meant to be in action this evening, I believe. So do you want to tell people why you're not?
Yeah, so it's the first show of the year that's looked like it was going to go ahead. Well, it is going ahead. It's on tonight. And I think it must have been about 5 weeks ago now. So I was on and off training anyway. You know, I weren't doing it flat out because I've been so busy with work. But I was clicking over, had the call. Do you want to fight on the BKB lockdown show? 5 weeks, yeah. Done a week in the gym, flat out. Lucky enough, I had permission off the council to train in the gyms. So we were flat out, feeling good. Done my first spar on the Sunday after I found out I was fighting. And basically, sparring Angelo, moving away from him, it felt as if where they are, I don't know if you've been in the Jack to a King gym, their ring's floor level. So there's just outside, there's a bench, a weights bench. So I thought I'd step through the ropes and this weights bench had fallen on the back of my leg. So I looked behind me to see what had fallen on my leg and there was nothing there. And then when I went to put my foot down, it was a dip in the floor and I just went over. I knew straight away what it was because I've been having a bit of trouble with my Achilles through the summer with running. And obviously we've all seen the David Haye fight with his Achilles snapping in the ring. And it just felt like that. And you could feel there where the tendons are meant to be. It was just flesh. So I knew straight away. So I managed to get to my car, managed to roll the car down to the house, got home, told my missus, she screamed at me, went up A&E and yeah, ruptured Achilles. So
who was at the gym when you were sparring? Obviously Angelo was there sparring. Was Richie there?
Yeah, he was late, so he came in as I was rolling around the floor screaming. So
so how was Richie very sympathetic?
Yeah, you know what? I think he was more annoyed that he'd gotten out of bed late and come up to watch a sparring, and he didn't even see a minute of the sparring. I was just rolling on the floor screaming by the time he got up there, which probably made his day, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw the pictures you put on Twitter, and I didn't actually ask you how you caused the injury. I didn't realise it was actually an injury through training, and yeah. I'm guessing with an ankle injury like that, you normally, normally with an ankle injury like that, you don't really associate those type of injuries with boxing. It's probably more MMA, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason I knew I'd snapped it was because I'd seen David Haye do it in a fight, and I just knew straight away. It's the first thing that flashed in my mind. I was like, I snapped my Achilles. It's weird because my left Achilles is the one that's been hurting me because I'd done so much running during the first lockdown. I'd done more running than I should have. I never run that much, but there was nothing else to do. So I was running every day, pounding stupid miles and stuff. And my left leg the Achilles has always been tight. So I'm having to warm it up, and a couple of physios, and sports guys have told me what to do. And I usually warm it up and it's fine. And it was the other one that went. But when I went to see the physio then, she said, yeah, what you'll find is the one that's aching is the one that's compensating for the one that's not aching, and that's the one that tends to go. And I'm like, all right. And then she broke my heart by saying it happens to people your age. So I was like, all right, brilliant.
So how sympathetic was Mrs. Lilley when you told her the news?
Well, my nan's in our support bubble, right? My nan's on her own. So we always go to my nan's on a Sunday dinner. She always cooks a Sunday dinner and we're in her bubble. So she comes down, sees the kids, blah, blah, blah. So I said to her, Nan, this Sunday, I'm cooking Sunday dinner. You do enough, I'll cook Sunday dinner for you. Got the veg ready all the night before, all ready. Said, right, I'm going to the gym now. I'm going sparring. It'll only be an hour. Came back. Oh, she was happy. Yeah, so I can't drive anywhere now as well. So I'm basically housebound.
Yeah. Oh, nightmare. So how was the actual sparring?
You know what? It was the first one. I'd been sparring. Obviously, BKB was meant to happen in September. So I'd been sparring up until about 3 weeks before the September show was meant to happen. And then the rumour started again. The O2 was going to open. They were postponing the show, so I stopped sparring. So I'm not getting punched for free and for no reason. So I stopped sparring. I was still training, still taking over, but I'd been doing sparring, so I felt good. But I felt really good sparring Andrew. I thought the break had done me good. Felt quite sharp. Felt quite light on my feet, even though I was probably about 10 kilos over the weight. But felt pretty good. But what happens, and it was only sort of 2 minutes into the round, so I can't take much away from it.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been boxing and fighting in general for a long time. Is this the worst injury you've had?
It's probably the only injury I've had. I had a cracked knuckle once years ago, but it was like a minor crack when my knuckle swole up, and I injured my elbow after when I got armbarred in MMA. But I've never been out of the sport for X amount of months. I've had little niggles. I used to get problems with my shoulders. My hips went once when I was meant to fight Barry Jones for the Welsh title, a week out of the fight. I pulled my back and my hips were out of line. So at one point it makes your leg longer than the other one. So I had to just have, it was just stuff like that. It's stuff you got to keep on top of. But this is the first general injury. No, not genuine injury, but the first big injury I've had. You see footballers, and I'm watching them on TV. And I'm thinking, how are they always injured? How are they getting hamstring problems all the time? I completely sympathise with them now.
Has this made you question your future in combat sports?
Yeah, obviously, I turned 34, a couple of weeks back. I know, it's different now. People seem to have longer careers these days, and I think it's more to do with the fact of, the nutrition side of things. Not to say that I live the lifestyle all the time. I don't, when I haven't got fights coming up, I like to have a drink. I like junk food. I'm not going to say I do, but I'm always in the gym. I always keep fit. I haven't been in too many wars, so I haven't got that much wear and tear. But it always plays in the back of your mind. I Googling online, and how old is the average age of people quitting? MMA boys seem to go on longer, and I think the lucky thing is that if I was just still boxing professionally, I probably would call it a day. But with a BKB, a lot of them are ex-pros, so they've had a career in MMA, they've had a career in boxing, they've had a career in kickboxing. So they're all around my age, they're all 36, 37. So I think I've still got a couple of years left in the bare knuckle, and the MMA, I'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah, so you mentioned the BKB there. There's a BKB taking place tonight. I don't think it's got a number on it. Is it just BKB lockdown, they're calling it? Yeah,
so the BKB 21 and 22 shows, they're still postponed. I think it's more to do with the tickets, the fact that, I don't know the full score, but the ticket office in the O2 is not open at the moment. So people are struggling to get refunds if they bought off the O2, and fighters getting refunds. So I think 80% of the tickets are being refunded now for those. But BKB 21 and 22, they're still gonna head whenever, exactly the same fight cards whenever it happens in January, February. So they've managed to get another one now, which is BKB Lockdown, and they were just matching up whoever wanted to fight on it, like Sean George, Smudger Smith. That's a big fight. They would have usually been headlining, but they were on different paths at the time. Sean was meant to be fighting Daniel Chapman for the featherweight world title, and Smudger was meant to be fighting the prize fighter final. But obviously, Smudger's guys in Holland, so there's a travel restrictions. And I'm not too sure why Daniel and Sean aren't fighting. Maybe Dan's just concentrating on his gym. I don't know. But that was a fight that got offered. The only other one around my weight with the same experience was Scott McHugh. So we said we'd have our fight now because it doesn't make any difference really to us. It could be a rematch then. But yeah, I think Rocky was hoping to be on it. He didn't get matched, and they phoned him 2 days ago and said, look, we've got to fight with you. Do you want to fight? And he said, yes. So he's driven up there, and he's up there now. So,
yeah. I mean, how for people involved in boxing and BKB and MMA at your sort of level, I mean, how many people do you think are going to leave the sports based because of this lockdown, or do you think most people will ride it out?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about the amateur side as well. Like with the amateur, you know, you got kids who are like super talented. I can remember like there was a couple of Asian boys who used to come up the Gwent, and one of them was phenomenal. He was like, you know, he built like Dan Chapman, like, you know, different class, like. But then he got an interest in another sport. I think he got interested in basketball and went to play basketball. And with like, you know, kids that age, you know, when you're like 13, 14, maybe you're doing rugby, maybe you're doing football. If one of your sports is closed down and then you start doing the other one more, you might just think, you know, oh, I'm not going to bother going back to that. So boxing and sports like that are locked down. They could lose some teenagers, you know. It's hard enough to keep kids in the gym as it is.
Yeah.
And if they're closed all the time and there's all these rules, you know, the amateur boxing, when's that going to happen again? You know, I know the Welsh Championships are all about pulling it behind closed doors, but, you know, there's not money really in the amateur scene, so I don't know how they would do it. But the other side of things, with the pros, yeah, it's, you know, people who are maybe just hanging on at the end of their career, or they're coming off a couple of bad losses or whatever, they might just think, this is it now, you know, it's a year out, over a year maybe for some people. There's no sign of the smaller shows really happening. I know MTK have managed to get a couple in, but and a couple of MMA shows have done some like secret location shows, but there don't seem to be a lot happening at the minute. I know everyone's banking on this vaccine, really. I've spoken to promoters abroad and stuff about going over there to fight, and they seem to be a bit more relaxed, but I think it's just getting over there and getting sort of the vaccine out so people, and, you know, quicker testing so people can go to shows.
Yeah, there was an interesting article in Boxing News this week that explained it from a small hall promoter's point of view, how they're struggling. Because pretty much they rely solely on ticket sales,
yeah,
TV money, and how basically if you can be an outstanding amateur or a decent level amateur, but you're not going to get your pro debut on one of these TV shows now because they want to evenly match contests or like 50, 40, 60 type contests.
Yeah.
So even like young amateurs who are a bit something about them, they're struggling to even start off their careers.
Yeah, it's like the other thing, like Ben Crocker. I've been doing a lot of rounds with Ben Crocker. He's turning over. He's up with Gary, and I think he started going up to Gary's a lot more the last couple of weeks and getting some rounds.
Lockett.
Sorry,
Gary Lockett.
Yeah,
Gary.
Yeah, he's been going up there a lot more recently and getting some rounds in. But like he said to me, you know, you could fork out, you know, it's nearly £1,000 for you to turn pro with boxing. You know, that's your medicals, your brain scans. And I don't know how, you know, I can't see the boxing board honouring the license fee for an extra couple of months. You know, they need the money as much as anyone else. So, you know, he doesn't want to fork out £1,000 and then in 4 months' time he's got to do it again. He might not even had a fight or whatever, you know. It's difficult, you know. The TV shows need to put on the fights that grab people's interest, so they're going to pay the money out for it, because most of them are on pay-per-view. It's a mad situation for everyone at the minute. And, you know, I feel sorry for, you know, the guys who are trying to start out, because it's a new world.
Yeah. I mean, how long is... I mean, you were famous for fighting all the time, basically, week in, week out, it seems. How long has it been now since you've had a fight?
17th of November, I think it was, the last one last year. The fight. I was meant to fight MMA in January this year, but I picked up an injury working away at a show. I basically pulled my arm, and I don't go into fights like half-hearted, so I said no. Then we had April was meant to happen. Then the actual big lockdown happened. Then September, and then it disappeared, right? Oh, there we go. And then my cat's putting a claw on the door. Then September was meant to happen, and then November. So yeah, it's been a year. So that's a long time for me at the minute. I had a break about midway through my career when I was about 23. I think I didn't fight for about 2 years, but that was because you know, I was still quite young then. I just gotten with my wife at the time. I'd moved house, I had a new job, so there's a lot going on at the moment. So, you know, I didn't want to, you know, I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm doing it properly. Like, you know, I'm not going into fights half-hearted. I'd never just turn up, like in pro boxing, just take a payday. I've got to train and got the mindset to win. But yeah, it's just a long time for me at the minute, especially said at 34 now. You know, I got 3 kids. Work's busy because we've got all the back orders of lockdown. So yeah, it's going to be hard, but I give myself another year, see if I can get somewhere, and then see what happens.
I know it's a big thing these days, mental health, and like athletes, especially boxers or fighters, when they retire, trying to fill the void. Have you given any consideration to what you're going to do in 12 months or 18 months, whenever it is, when you do retire? Poetry. I was going to ask, I got a list of questions here, and actually poetry's on the list.
No, do you know what? I like, you know, we'll probably go into it, but I can't see myself coaching. I'm not the type of person to, you know, I got no problem, like any of the boys come up and ask me advice and ask me to do rounds or talk to them. I got no problem with that, but I'm not the type of person to go in a gym every day, at the minute anyways, probably because I'm still active, and just be sat there on the sidelines, you know. I remember my mate was training with me to have an unlicensed fight on Dino's show, an unlicensed boxing, and I was cornering him, and they said, "Oh, all we can see is you bouncing around the change room." So I was up front, you know, I had my gum shield with me. I would have fought. So I think I'd probably need to do what Jason Williams done. Like, obviously I'm quite close to Jason. He said when he left the sport, he had to walk away from it for a couple of years just to get his mind right. And I think I'd probably have to do the same, you know, just step away, chill out for a couple of years, and then go into it. Because I'd be the type of person not to make excuses and, you know, be like, oh, I can't come training today, and obviously with work and stuff. But yeah, maybe it's something I'll do in the future. I know Wally wants me to do one of the MMA coaching badges for the new gym and stuff, so we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. So I still like training, so I'll probably go training. My running days are fucking done though, so that's the end of that.
I mean, you mentioned it there, the poetry, and you've mentioned it a few times on Twitter. Tell us about the poetry. I mean, I don't know, really.
So it's been like a little hobby of mine since I was like, I don't know. I've actually got the first poem I ever wrote. So we went to with the school when we were like 7 or 8. You know, where you go and stay in, like, I think it was Bover House down the Gower, and you've got to do stuff. And one of them was a poem, and it was good. And all the teachers like nominated for some box, I can't remember what. And I've always written it like on the side, and I just thought it was just like a little hobby. Never thought I was any good. Obviously lockdown, I had a lot of spare time, so I was doing a bit more writing. And I contacted this guy. I followed a couple of poetry sites on Twitter, and I see this Welsh one, and I spoke to this person called Matthew Smith, and I said, "Oh, so how did you get into this?" And he said, "Oh, I was just writing poetry, and I just started up my own website, and it's quite popular." And I said, "Oh, how do you submit and stuff?" Because that's one thing that put me off. Like, you know, you got to do it in a certain text format and stuff, and I didn't have time for it. So checked a couple out, and they seem to, you know, get some good feedback and reviews, and thrown a few more out, and just go all right. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that probably surprised a lot of people, because people who maybe just know you as a fighter, they'll think bare knuckle boxer, professional boxer, MMA fighter. Probably the only other boxer I associate with poetry is probably Muhammad Ali.
yeah. No, I like reading's a big thing of mine. I've read, like, I always read books, and, you know, I devour books. Like, I've probably read every one of, like, Stephen King's books. Like, I love the Game of Thrones series. I'll devour books. Like, I'll just go out and devour books, and I've always done it. And I've always thought to myself, right, one day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a story. But I seem to be better at poetry than the story at the minute. I can't seem to ever finish a story. I think the furthest I got was about 25,000 words, and I was like, oh, I don't know where this is going. So, but the poetry seems to have been picked up by a couple of places. I had work accepted. I think I got a poem coming out every month now to like February. So just keep submitting and see what happens.
So where can people read this poetry if they want to check it out? Is it available online? Or
Right. I write two types of poetry, right? There's the, the
like
Dylan
the old song as a kid in the German city.
There's I write like Dylan Thomas type poetry because he was a big influence of mine. I remember doing it for like my A levels and stuff. And I write like dark and like about like addiction and stuff like that. So depends on which way you want to go. Like I don't show my nan some of the poetry, but some two of my pieces are up on a website called Spill Words, and I've got two more bits up on a website called Versification, which is the darker poetry. That's the micro poetry. The rest, I'll be putting links up over the next month. There's one which is Black Bow Poetry. That's coming out in February or March. But they're going to be books to buy. They are, so I don't know if it'll be available online.
Oh, good. You mentioned books there. What's your favourite boxing book or sports book? Have you got one you'd call your best, your favourite?
Yeah, I really liked War Baby about the Nigel Benn McClellan fight. There's a chapter in there, I think it's chapter 5. It got a lot of criticism at the time, but I enjoyed it, and it's probably because I like the fiction side of things, where I think the author put himself in G-Man's shoes, and he was like saying, he was talking to his dogs, he was like doing this.
Wasn't it? Deuce was the name of one of his dogs.
Yeah, Deuce, that's it. Yeah, he done this more than all. And then really like that's one of my favourite books. And what was the other one? Dark Trade as well.
Yeah.
I love that. But just some of the he was talking about, James Toney and the manager he had at the time. I think was the first female manager in America.
Callan, Jackie Callan.
That's it. And he was threatening to shoot her after his first loss and stuff. And I think there's a story about him in the Nevada desert, and Mike Tyson comes up and goes up in his face and says like, "Who the fuck you?" and stuff like that. It's good. I really enjoyed that as well. Yeah, those are probably my two favourites. They're the ones I've read more than once. I've got like, I'm not so much into the biographies. I don't like, you read the biographies and I feel like if I follow a box, I know most of it already. Yeah. I prefer like the War Baby one. That's like about a fight, so it tells you about the two fighters, tells you about the build up the fight, the aftermath. Same as Dark Trade, it tells you like a little snippet of their lives rather than the full story. And I like that. I want to read. I've been meaning to get it for a while. Night Train, is it about Sonny Liston? Yeah, I want to get that because it's meant to touch on like his mafia and stuff like that, and I just never got around to reading that.
Yeah. I read a book recently. I don't know if you've read it. I think it's called the last thing I own is this Bloody Mary by boxing writer. I put it on Twitter recently. Brilliant book by a journalist who used to write for I think the Independent and a few papers. That's like yeah, I can send you the copy I got if you want it. It's like a series of short stories about different boxers through his time in boxing. It's quite dark, really. It's not. He was actually Colin McMillan's advisor. Remember Colin McMillan, the featherweight? Oh
yeah.
Yeah, so but it's quite dark, and he got a lot of personal problems. The journalist.
Oh, is he? Oh, I've looked that up. Yeah.
Really good book.
Have you heard?
Go on, sorry, mate.
Have you heard of this? Someone sent me the link the other day. A guy called Ben Doherty.
Yeah,
Ben Doherty. Yeah. So they were talking about him in a group, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, he calls himself a boxing journalist, but he seems a bit mad." And they sent me a link to this documentary about him. And someone's paid him money to go to Italy to fight Marvin Hagler, and he's just walking around an Italian town trying to look for him. He's got no leads. It's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen.
I actually met Ben. Which fight did I meet him? I met him in the Groves Froch rematch.
Oh, yeah.
He was there. That's why we had another chat with him. Yeah, he's a bit of an eccentric character, which you get in boxing.
What's his book called? Drugs, Booze and Birds or something, isn't it? Yeah, and I was reading.
Someone put, I don't know if it was Amazon or something, said there's not much booze in this book, but there's not much birds in this book. So the only thing is,
someone put me on to him the other day, and I was watching like the documentary, and I was like, "This is berserk." He's just walking around this town in Rome, looking for Marvin Hagler. Like, it's fucking bizarre.
If you look on YouTube, there's videos of him doing pads with people on the tube. The train, the underground in London. He's actually on the
Oh, yeah.
tube doing pads with people while other commuters are sitting either side.
Who is he then? Is he just someone who's interested?
He was a decent amateur boxer, I believe.
All right.
And he's a bit of an eccentric. I think he used to live in America. He actually, you got a video if you look on his YouTube channel, I think, of he met up with Mitch Green. Remember Mitch Blood Green who fought Mike?
Yeah.
He actually met up with Mitch Green in some slum in New York. And
Mitch Green won Tyson had a fight with on the street.
Yeah. He went the distance with Tyson. I think he was the first one to go distance with Tyson, and then they had a fight, the scrap in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a character for sure. Yeah, I know you're not on Facebook, but he's worth following on Facebook. He does good interviews, well, to be fair.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was a bit bizarre. Sorry, my boy's just come storming into the room. What are you doing? Oh, she's an idiot.
You mentioned Kevin. You mentioned the War Baby book. That was written by Kevin Mitchell from The Guardian, the Observer writer. Just as a thing, he's actually probably one of the only journalists who scored the Manny Pacquiao Mayweather fight to Manny Pacquiao.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he scored it like 116, 114 to Pacquiao.
Yeah, I'd seen quite a few documentaries on, not documentaries, like people making up YouTube videos saying Pacquiao really won the fight and stuff.
I didn't think so, but
no, neither do I.
What's happening with the TTLO one, James?
I think it's dead, to be honest. It's like we obviously we were doing it with you for a bit, and then John come in and said, "Oh, look, we need to sponsor a." Sorry, my battery's dying. Is telling me we want to sponsor a podcast.